Welcome to Leadership Series. My name is Dr. Kashan, and I will have Sarosh Hussain join with me in just shortly. I will give you a bit background on Sarosh in just a second. But meanwhile, let's talk about what Leadership Series is real quick. Leadership Series is about empowering our community members, not just limited to locally in Texas, but also abroad. We have a lot of folks joining from many different areas. We live in a connected world, and that's the main idea here, that we want to be able to connect the folks with so much that we have, with variety of skills, backgrounds. We have so much to offer on this platform at Leadership Series as well. And we're very much fortunate enough to get some of the really amazing individuals from all backgrounds come to the Leadership Series and be able to provide their perspective on leadership in their respective roles. So today I have Sarosh Hussain joined with me. He is one of those individuals that I have been following and look up to also because of the fact that the fast he has grown in the leadership roles and hold executive positions. That is something that we want to talk about as well. So it's a little bit of background on Sarosh. By the way, Sarosh was very humble enough not to talk so much about him, and he was like, I will just give you maybe 4 or 5 lines of bio. And that's definitely humility there, because that's in the leadership position. We also need to be very humble. And Sarosh Hussain is a senior vice president at Perry Homes. He's the head of IT, CIO, responsible IT department, technology and capability is what he is responsible and oversee. He partners with other executives in the company to drive technology-enabled business transformations. Sarosh has bachelor's in computer science, master's in business management, and prior to joining Perry Homes, Sarosh had leadership positions at Big Four professional services, where he helped business small to large build and integrate business solutions, including bleeding edge technologies such as artificial intelligence. Outside work, he enjoys spending time with family, traveling, regular workouts, and friendly game of basketball, and actually playing and not watching. So that's really good. So without further ado, Sarosh Hussain, thanks for joining Leadership Series. Appreciate you coming in and accepting our invite.
It's a pleasure, Kashan. And I just reciprocate. I'll say the same thing. You are one of the individuals I look up to too. I mean, how long have we known each other? And it's just been great to see each other's growth and progress. So it's awesome. Just, it's great when you can enjoy each other's company and learn from each other. So it's always great.
Thanks for that, Sarosh. Really, I think this platform really helps highlight some of those areas that others are look up to. We want to be able to inspire folks, and that's the main thing. Leadership is all about inspiring, being able to transform people's mindsets, and and different organizations as well. And some of the things we're going to talk about today is really, especially in today's times of crisis, we want to be able to leverage and build each other up. And that's the main thing in today's times, how we further be empathetic listener. And at the same time, we want to be able to continue to inspire others just by listening to each other. And that's one thing. So Sarosh, tell me about your experience and how have you sort of gone so quickly in the leadership position? I mean, that's what I feel is that you have gone through the ladder pretty quickly. Is it what really matters here? What is your pretty specific areas that you want to point out that helped you get to the in the executive position and at a very young age that you are? I mean, you're as old as I am.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually boils down to a couple of things, Kashan. One, I don't care what job it is that you're doing. You just got to give it all. You have to be best at whatever it is that you're doing. And be genuine about this. Just give it all. One, you got to find your passion. You're not going to grow or exceed in a career if you don't like your job or if you're just in this for money. So you got to. I mean, it's great to be rewarded, but you also have to be. You have to enjoy what you do. For me, it was pretty clear just early on. I was always a great engineer, and I was always doing a lot of great things. But every time I looked at, okay, what's next? It's only so much you can do as an engineer, as an architect, and at some point so I always enjoyed the the ability to lead others. So at some point, you've seen and done enough where you can kind of start seeing things at a very high level. You start mapping the dots, and the world starts, kind of becoming smaller, and you can start seeing, okay, you know what? This is how this industry connects. This is how people connect. This is how the money moves across the world. And that's when you start realizing, okay, well, what role can I play here? And for me, it's all about investing in yourself. So something that I've done, and I think that's probably if there's one secret to all of this, is do what you're doing, be great at what you're doing, but reserve time to invest in yourself. So what I like to think is, work smart so you can get your stuff done faster, but then you take that time to invest in yourself. So leadership for me, I wasn't a born leader. I wasn't a natural leader. It was something I had to learn and hone. And that's one thing I'll tell anybody. If you put your mind to it, if you've invested the time, if you're looking at the right things, um, just invest in learning. And it's about taking the hard role. It's about, so leadership isn't just about, managing people, overseeing things, whatnot. You could be a leader because, there are four janitors and you're the one who decided to, clean up something that wasn't part of your job. It's just, it's taking the leadership and not just, so I always distinguish, management versus leadership. So, for me, I think one habit that I've picked up for almost last 10 years is I invest a lot of time learning. So it's I have like 2 or 3 different subscriptions, and I don't want to advocate bad habits here, but almost every morning on my commute to work, I have 1 hour of drive, and on my way back, I'm typically listening to a lecture, and that's everything from learning a new technology or new skill to actually having a difficult conversation or leading a board meeting or how to present better. Um, and all those things, just this is self investment, and I'll tell you, sooner or later you start seeing it just pays off. So it's I guess 2 things, do be great at what you're doing, and invest in yourself to actually always be looking for the next thing. And yeah, broaden your horizon. Just what I've seen is the more you learn about other things, and experiences matter too. So always, I guess one thing I would tell everybody is just never be set. And that's one thing I never wanted to do. Just as a technologist, even when I was a technologist, I never wanted to be known for one thing. I always wanted to be a generalist. So if I've done a very complicated project, I don't want people to be the guy that's done that project and known for that project. I'm always moving on to something different, just so it exercises a different muscle. You learn things, your horizon gets broader. And yeah, the more you learn, the more you can, yeah, see things together.
Thanks
So
for that, Sarosh. I think you really hit right on the dot. That first thing is to really invest in yourself, and oftentimes we sometimes not invest in ourselves, and we see the the impact of it later, because that what happened to the time? What do we do with that little time to further invest in ourselves and our skills? And the reading books is definitely the key area here. And I do also listen to many podcasts, and I do believe that that's one way to further learn and continue, being able to understand how things are working, what's the new trends in technology, and be able to connect in those areas is very important. So thanks for pointing that out. So Sarosh, talk about a bit on the today's times of crisis, how people need to be looking at their businesses today. You work in the real estate business right now as a IT executive, senior vice president there. I would like to ask you, Sarosh, what is that you're seeing specifically in your industry today? And you have worn many hats in other industries as well. What is the shift that you're seeing, the trend, and what is your key advices for business startups, for example? What should they be looking into, and how they should be moving forward with today's situation that they're in?
Yeah, so we're living in unprecedented times. Just it is so different. It's not. It was COVID earlier. We were dealing with the economic downturn. We had unemployment rates hitting the historical high, and now we've got all these incidents happening with the recent incident about the issue with the cop and the person. So it's just, things are getting more and more complex. So the world, I will tell you just something where I come from my professional services background. I was always a big advocate of digital transformation. I was always a big advocate. This was my job to actually help lead company and just see the light and, how can technology help you? And it's amazing how many areas technology can actually help them. Just, anything from, your back office to front office. There's a lot of things that technology can either make you get faster, more efficient, reduce waste, or automate, and, or just basically just reduce that time so you could focus on business value and value added activities. So, and in some businesses, technology actually creates new solutions. So what I've learned, just, I guess I've gone across a lot of different industries. I've gone from, software tech-based industries to financial services, which is always interesting to me because, I worked on a Deutsche Bank for a project and I'm thinking, I'll get to see all this money. And turns out it's all just digital, just somebody says your account has $1 trillion and that's what you have. So it's fairly virtual, just that world. That world is much more easier to transform than when you get down to the asset-based industries. So things like where I am right now, home building, I always thought it would take me forever to transform this industry. What COVID-19 has done, and I see it as a side effect, just it's a positive thing for us. So I'm seeing a totally revived investment in IT. We're actually seeing a lot more trust, confidence, and things that the business wants us to do in terms of technology. So one thing COVID-19's done is actually even brought that transformation to asset-intensive industries like home building. We're getting more traffic and leads now through our online channels than, in the past it used to be, okay, people want to come in and meet and see the physical product. There's a lot more buy-in, and I guess maybe that's the comfort. So the industry itself, one, we had shortage of people that were comfortable with technology, so our sales staff, our construction staff, and all of a sudden, I remember actually that one incident. It's a very good story. Just quick, 2 seconds. I roll out a lot of stuff. I bleed Microsoft. Just one thing, I'm a big fan of Microsoft. So if I'm anywhere heading up technology, you'll see a lot of Microsoft sooner or later. So I pushed out. I replaced a whole bunch of our collaboration technologies with Microsoft Teams. For collaboration, for video, for chat, for all those things. And I was thinking, okay, you know what? I've got the adoption. I've been able to get people to share files, collaborate together, modern technology. But how do I get them to now, do? How do you do a new Teams call? How do you do a new video call? How do you use Teams to work together in sales offices and construction offices or whatnot? And then COVID happened, and all of a sudden, everybody had to find ways to work remote. And I would say a week into it, and we came up with some short-term solutions and long-term solutions. I looked at my teams. So the company employs about 1,000 people. I looked at teams, and our usage went from, I think, 50 or 60 people all of a sudden to 600 people. So all these people that I would typically go out and train and, get them, all sorts of training and hands-on and exercise or whatnot, they just self-learn. So now we're actually getting, the demand is totally different. People now know technology, they realize, so now they're actually wanting that next level. So it's not that I don't have to build up that maturity, they're already mature, and now they're asking for bigger and better things. So just what COVID-19's done is it's accelerated digital transformation for even an asset-based industry like this. So a couple of things that we did find ourselves doing, just because we saw the trend internally, with our people, and externally from the people that we sell homes to. Just so from the history of the company, we are one of the largest builders in Texas. We build about 3,400 homes in Texas, spec homes, which are the speculation homes, we call it. That's the home that we've built up. We've designed it in the anticipation that somebody will like what we've built and they'll buy it. And that happens. And then we have buyers that come in and pick from our catalog of 350 plans and different elevations and different options and all those things. And so that used to be a fairly manual, transactional, hands-on phone process. And that So it's just now we're doing things like building a virtual catalogs. We're now converting our getting more leads from our online IHCs. We ended up hiring more in our home consultants. We digitized our process so you could actually complete the entire. I think in our business it's called lead to contract, and basically it's the value cycle. There's a bunch of value streams. I don't want to complicate things, but there's really four major for our business. It's the plan to build. We've got a plan in that we build a product and we put it on the ground, and then we've got procure to pay. We procure from the vendors, and we end up doing payables, which is our AP, and they all go through their own life cycles. But this contract to I guess contact to, let's call it cash, that cycle was typically very much involved, and we've digitized that entire value stream. And this is through our custom products. So we build a lot of custom. That's sort of what so I guess I don't want to give out too much intellectual property, but that is our competitive advantage. Just in terms of our sales CPQ solution, that's something we've built in-house, and then we've used commodity for where we have commodity. But it is just that there's a lot more technology. Digitize the contracts that used to be signed by people, scanned in, and then sent it to title companies or whatnot. We had title companies coming into our parking lot and do it digital because you cannot do contacts. We've had to figure out ways to just work remote. I mean, our salespeople, they were so innovative. They ended up using their phone with the Teams client installed on there, and kind of getting those recordings, and then one led to another. So it's amazing to me that this industry, 50 years or so, not a single transformation, and all of a sudden 3 months, we're just, if you were to look at maturity levels, I would say from 1 to 5. If we were at 1, we're now at 3, just in terms of digital transformation, which is in 3 months, that's a lot of acceleration. Now, IT in this case is actually having to catch up. I'm actually doing a lot of projects. Now, some of the projects that I was doing in the anticipation that someday I'll drive digital transformation, they paid off just because, the situation itself called for it. But I can always, I'm always thinking, what if I just settled for status quo and didn't push, what would we do now? How would we make remote work? But, you look at our competition, we're one of the biggest. So COVID-19, even we're actually still on target. You look at our competition, they've had to adjust their targets for how much revenue they're going to have, how much profitability. We're still tracking to the same thing that we set up in the beginning of the year, and we're actually on track to do that, which is amazing. A lot of that had to do with us being able to leverage technology around this time to actually continue to maintain those healthy, production cycles and sales cycles, and we get a lot of credit. IT gets a lot of credit for that. But yeah.
So thanks, Sarosh, for really providing some great insights there. And I think you really touched on the very key points there. One of which is that, hey, you got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to just go out of the comfort zone and try new things. And I think you did that. And sometimes you got to fail fast, rather than just waiting and not making those, quick and smart decisions. I think that's important, definitely. And I think with you having your IT background and so many different hats you wore, I do believe that leveraging technology in today's time is the way to go, for sure. Specifically, in the real estate that you're mentioning, that there's a lot of digital transformation that has to take place. And not just doing things manually, being able to automate, and especially leveraging so much artificial intelligence there. There's cloud computing. We gotta be able to leverage all those areas to make the life easier of our customer at the end of the day, right? Our clients, right? So that's important. So talk about your key advices for the ones that are in high school or in graduating right now in universities, or the ones that are actually transitioning from high school to university. Like, what is the key area or skills that they need to start attaining at this point today, that they can further be successful? Because times are changing, right? Times are changing. We definitely want to not forget about the area to connect with people, the improving communication skills, but specifically talk about what is your overall holistic perspective on what's key skills that they need to have, and not just limited to technology maybe, but also just overall?
Yeah,
Right.
so no, that's actually a great point. I wish I had a non-technology advice, and I do have few, but I will tell you, no matter what profession you're in right now, it doesn't matter whether you're a doctor or if it's in healthcare or whatever you're pursuing, every single industry, every single profession will be hit by digital transformation. So no matter what it is, their technology will play a role in that. Either to make a better decision, to automate a certain process, to use artificial intelligence to do your job better, to analyze large amounts of data. So just expect that the world around us is going to change, and I, I think a lot of us are probably observing a lot of that change already. So if you go to, when you look at those cashierless pay stations where you can go pay, when I look at, my own mom, is, 10 years ago, if somebody told me, your mom would be sharing pictures on Facebook of your party, I would not have believed that. Just, so it's just technology itself. I always used to say that about our industry too. Just, our salespeople are not going to learn technology. Our construction folks, they're working, and it's just, it's everybody's, no matter what you're doing, there's an aspect of, so I would encourage every single person, and this is the advice that I'm actually implementing myself too. So my own daughter, we're sending just actually part of the work that you're doing, Kashan, yourself. A lot of kudos to you. I think just, in terms of leading the community that way, just, investing in those innovative areas that are going to become the future. And, I will tell you, when I got into this technology profession, I didn't realize how much impact technology will have in the world, itself. But, now I look at it, I'm like, almost, and I know our peers would not agree and open to a conversation, but a lot of progress towards modernization or world moving forward can actually be attributed to technology. I don't talk about technology as just software and the computers and servers, just any technology. Just what the steam engines did to accelerate digital transformation, where people weren't having to do that work. That replaced a lot of jobs. Now, I think AI is replacing a lot of jobs, but it's also augmenting. It's helping you do your job better too. If you've got an assisted bot that's helping you do a surgery, that's artificial intelligence at work in your medical profession. And I actually see some of the things that at the hospitals. When we were talking contactless, well, a lot of contactless, so one of the things every business is having to do is temperature scanning to figure out, whether you're symptomatic or not. Well, if you let a person do it, then you've got, you still have contact. And now I'm seeing bots that are just, standing station and people walk by and, bot cannot get sick. So you do your temperature scan and, it's done. So I guess no matter what it is, you will be impacted by technology. So take at least a couple of courses, no matter. So, and I think everybody gets a choice to do electives. Make sure those electives are, I think programming knowledge would be ideal for almost everybody, because it'll force you to learn some other concepts that are important. It'll force you to learn operating system. It'll force you to learn database. It'll force you to learn some other things. So take any programming course that you can get. Take some math before you do it. So math and science, of course, huge, but they'll prepare you for take one or two programming courses. Take Python, which is somewhat generic, but also could be applied to data science. And in fact, there's a class by you. Why not take that? So it's those are the things that are going to shape our future. That's the next generation that is going to move the world forward. And technology will play a huge role, no matter what industry it is.
Thanks for that really great advice, especially for the ones that are graduating and transitioning into universities. I think right now there's so much uncertainty. The people are a bit just a bit of a chaos. I guess more they want answers. Students want answers. They want to know where things are moving forward.
Yeah,
But I
I'd say
do.
it doesn't matter what the major is. Is it supply chain? Okay, do it. The supply chain is getting a lot of automation. Finance, yes, finance. You'll do a lot of analytics. You'll make a lot of real-time decisions using data. If you're in marketing, you'll be able to analyze your customers' behavior. You'll be able to analyze. If you're in customer service, you'll be able to analyze your customer churn and the reasons for that. So it's no matter what, something is there for you in technology. So invest the time. I think it'll pay off. And just if you want, if you're a supply chain person and you have 10 of those people, and if you're the one with technology background, I can almost guarantee you'll have competitive advantage.
That's really true. I think being an expert is one area, but you can be, you can be you can be, the T shape that we talk about, right? So you
Right.
can have all the skills vertically and horizontally as well, right? So digging deep dive into one specific industry, what do you think about that? Is it a good idea to be expert in one particular industry, or would you rather like individuals to be dynamic and be more across in industries? But it's very hard to gain so much experience in one particular industry itself, or maybe like more than one industry, various industries. But that comes with time and
Yeah.
experience, right?
So I could honestly go both ways. I would say if there's one thing that kind of accelerated my own personal progress was working for a consulting firm. It gets you to do a lot of things very fast, especially if you end up with a difficult client and difficult project and difficult whatnot. It forces you, almost anything. I can almost recall almost all the hard situations, hard conversations, whether it's social, technical, or just a tough client. It's actually made me a better person. It's made me every time you learn something from it. But no, going back to your point about whether you go wide or whether you go deep, you know, I, I, I would conflict myself. I've always stayed generalist, but that doesn't have to be the case. You could actually be in one industry and you can go really deep. My advice would still be to actually get at least some breadth from working a couple of industries and a couple of different things, just because one industry actually helps you get better at there's so much that I've learned by working in consulting and drawing from other industries. When I look at manufacturing, we've got lean, Kanban, Toyota, just there's a lot of good practices. Now, could I lift and shift those to home building? No, because, our stuff isn't in a single factory or isn't in a single manufacturing facility where you could kind of, sequence that work out. But you could actually look at the entire value chain and try to see, is there a pattern? Could you sequence that out? Is there a standardization opportunity? Could you eliminate waste? Those are the things, just, being in different industry helps you to see some more things where if you were to just be in the same industry and just kept going down deep, 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 deep. So there's value to both, but I think, and again, I'm speaking from both sides of my mouth. When you go deep in a certain industry, then you have seen so much, and if you've got that one perspective, I will always ask everybody to maintain is just never be too much. What do you call it? Just industrialized. No, that's not the good word. But become one of them where you're just speaking and you're just not thinking. If you could maintain an outside-in perspective, almost take a step back and look at what you're doing and see if you can connect some bigger dots there. And it's a pattern, and it's harder to. It comes with time and experience, but it almost always gets you to think of a problem on a bigger scale. But yes, you could go deep and you could start seeing a lot more things, and then if you could innovate because you've got that much depth. But I think having the width and outside in perspective would always be helpful there. And again, I'm kind of, I know I'm not explaining myself pretty clear. It's very clear in my head, but I'm not articulate. So some of these things I will tell you. just, it's called curse of knowledge. When you know something and you know something for so long, it's very clear. But when you try to, articulate that, and maybe that's another thing to learn, is every time you've got a complex topic, see if you can simplify that for your audience. Of course, I always do. This is live, so there's very little time for that. But typically, that's something. How do you frame your problem into a business problem where somebody who doesn't know, who's not an insider, can see you and give you another perspective. But yeah, no, there's benefit to both. But I think the best blend would be, I guess, where I'm naturally ending myself. I'm sort of convincing myself on this. Is it's okay to go deep, but have some breadth, because they'll get you to go deep better.
I think that's really great advice there, and I do completely understand the point you were trying to make, which is really that sometimes you don't want to limit yourself in one particular area and be so technically deep dive into it, where you're limiting yourself to further envision, right? To be visionary in all areas. So being dynamic is very important, to be able to explain, at least in the layman's terms, so that people can understand the problem, right?
Right.
And having that technical deep dive is very good also, but not so much that where you are further, I guess, handicapping yourself by looking at it holistically, right?
Yeah.
On other areas. So that's important. So thanks for that. I always ask all our guest member audience that really listening to, and they always, and especially the guest that comes in on our show, what is your one individual or two or three individuals that you look up to as inspired by? Who do you look up to from the leadership point of view that you follow, and at the same time that have inspired you specifically?
Yeah, I mean, just for me, it's always, what can you learn? So if my career path was same as somebody else's, I would probably look up to that one or two individual. I actually try to draw the best from different people, just because I can't follow one individual and follow them all the way, because I cannot learn all of the things from them. They're great. They're doing a lot of those things, but some of those things might not be relevant to me. So I take the best from. So I follow a ton of leaders, just everybody from, the GE's former CEO, Jack Welch, how Satya's turned things around at Microsoft, Bill Gates. So you'll see a pattern. I do tend to follow a lot of technology, and maybe G, I guess it's a little bit different. I guess G couldn't be one industry. It's just too many industries. But yeah, no, some of those leaders, just, seeing what they do, how they talk, there's a lot of indirect learning you can get by just observing somebody, and try to understand the context, try to listen to the words that they're saying. There's deep meaning to a lot of those things, because their experiences, their history, their tenure have shaped a lot of what they're saying. I follow a lot of good leaders, just what they say, how they've gone about different problems. Read a ton of articles on that. And yeah, it's actually just anybody who's got something good to say. It doesn't matter. What was it? I think it was either Newton or Einstein. One of them somebody said that I have yet to meet a person that I've never learned anything from. So you could actually learn from anybody. It's just everybody's got something to share. Just have an open mind and just have a learning attitude. Just that's the attitude. Just never have that arrogance or know it all. And that's what I did. Just even when I was a technologist or engineer, even some of the best solutions that I create, and I'm getting recognized in the company, I'm always going back and thinking, what, I could have done this better, or what, I did this thing to shortcut the process, but I've created a technical debt that somebody else after me, will have to pay back. So I guess one thing that I always, it's an attitude. I always want to take whatever I've been given and shape it where whoever takes it after me, it's in better place where
That, the key term you use here, technical debt. I'm pretty sure a lot of audience that are listening, I know the IT folks can
Yeah,
definitely relate to it.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
technical debt is definitely that you don't want to leave behind it for others to basically clean up after what the left.
Technical
Behind, right?
for everybody else, it's actually no different than real debt. It actually accumulates. It accumulates interest. It gets, if you don't pay it off or if you don't do something about it, you'll either end up losing a lot, or sometimes it can actually cause you to be bankrupt too. So don't take it lightly. It is just as crucial as the financial debt. But basically, it means you've built a solution. You've either compromised on quality. You've either compromised on you've taken a shortcut versus doing proper architecture, which again I'll spare you the details what that means and how you go about it. But there's a lot of things you can do if you've got a project, if you've got things. I think most of them can figure out a way to deliver something that appears to work and something that seems to do things. But it could be that just I'll give one example. You've got a dirty pillow and you've put a clean sham on it, and now it looks great, whoever comes it, but underneath it's dirty and it's going to reek smell someday, and it'll rot. So just make sure you actually wash that pillow too. Um, sorry, that's a bad analogy I just came up with on the fly, but hopefully that makes sense.
That's great, Sarosh. Thanks for that. So, if you were to sum it up before we end the session for today, what is that one thing you want to point out, or two or three things you want to point out?
So I'll say I think just the structure that we followed, right? So I think if I was to give the advice to business, I'd say, look, almost everybody had to cut. It's not that every business had to survive. If they didn't cut, they had to. Well, they're not here. Then it's just you had to do. Just make sure you're being strategic about where you cut, what you're cutting. Take advantage of deferring things. But actually, this is a time to innovate too. The world is transforming digitally. More people being home means you now have to access them differently. You have to attract them differently. And this is actually the time to invest in technology. So I would say, yes, defer your hard costs, prorate, get loans, maintain a healthy cash flow, whatnot. But make sure you take the opportunity right now to actually position yourself for competitive advantage. So if there's stuff that you always wanted to do and you never had a good time because the business was booming, well, right now is that time. Get yourself positioned so you could go faster when things come back to normal. They will come back to normal. I don't know what that normal will be. It might be a hybrid of what's today, combined with something else, or it might be back to where we were. I doubt that, but it's just invest in digital capabilities, build up your capabilities, build up your talent, and for those. So that's the advice for business. Just invest in the right areas that kind of pay off later. But same kind of flip side for the individuals, businesses are going to invest in digital. So, hone up those skills that we're going to need. It's a lot of different things, learn programming, learn data science, learn, analytics, learn business process automation, learn robotics if you can. But those are the things that, in future, you'll see more and more automation. I can see a lot of process work going away. If you've got a structured process that you do day in and day out today, if if your work was that you could never think that your work could be done remote, even that's happened. So just know that this whole situation has accelerated. So everybody needs to catch up. Businesses will invest more in technology, and they will need people. So if you're a talented person, this is a time to invest in yourself, in skill sets, and I'll say businesses invest in technology.
Thank you for that, Sarosh. Really great advices, and for the business communities, especially for the business leaders and startups. I think you have really covered pretty much holistically, and also the students and graduates that are trying to shape up their future. I think you have really provided some great advice for them. So really appreciate that, Sarosh, and thanks again. I know you're a busy guy. You're still in the office,
Well,
and
actually, this is a regular day for me. Kashan, I don't know if you thought I was wearing this. This is how I look like every single day. And I'm typically here. Seven is normal for me. Today I was here already, so it worked out. But yeah, that's you just work hard. I guess that is the time to invest in yourself. I'm pretty sure there will be a time when I'm not going to be working that hard. I don't know when that time will come, but right now I've got the grit. So I have grit. Just no matter what you're doing, just be best at what you're doing.
Hey, thank you for that. Really great inspirational advice to work hard and at the same time continue to pivot when you need to, and continue being persistent. I think that is a key takeaway that I take from your advices. So thanks again. Really appreciate it, Sarosh, for your time, and best of luck to you. So let's stay connected.
All right. Likewise, Kashan, thank you so much. And I think I always say this to you and to anybody I meet. Just you are an inspirational figure yourself, and I wish I was doing some of the things that you're doing for the community. But I think you've had community leaders here, so I just wish you luck, and I know just keep doing what you're doing because that's a great thing for the community and for everybody that's learning.
Thank you for that, Sarosh. Really appreciate it, and we'll definitely be in touch. Take care.
All right. Likewise.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
All right, so that was Sarosh, Senior Vice President of IT, Perry Homes. That's definitely a wonderful milestone that he has achieved at a very young age, and I think he really provided some really key advices, especially for the young ones who want to move up the ladder in the corporate world, how fast you can move up, and what is the key advices and steps and decisions you need to take. And one of the things that I learned from him is to continue investing in yourself. If you're driving, going to work, maybe listen to a podcast, maybe listen to some of the key leaders that are providing some advices for whichever industry that they are in, or one of the business leaders, CEOs. Listen to them, their perspectives, and also I would say but it takes time. Everything requires time and effort, and being for watching. I hope to get connected with you in future. We have um, David Yaffe, Clements High School principal, who's going to be joining next week on Thursday, and with other leaders that we will also be joining soon. And like I said, this platform is not just specific to the ones that are holding leadership position, but this platform is for all community members. But we definitely want to be inspired from each other's. For all the good things that is being done in our community, whether in Houston, Texas, or outside, we want to be able to connect, and that's how we should leverage our time today. Right. Thanks for watching. I hope to get connected with you soon. So again, David Yaffe of Clements High School, Fort Bend ISD principal, will be joining us next week on Thursday. So mark your calendar, and I hope to get connected with you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. And also, we have Rehan Siddiqui, who will be joining on Friday, FM Hampton Radio. We have Zishan coming tomorrow, radio host personality, as well as TV host personality. And also, he's a business enthusiast, leader, principal consultant in different areas as well. And he will be joining as well tomorrow, so look out for him on this leadership series. Take care. Bye-bye. On the one I would like to say is, let's put behind us pointing at each other. So let's put behind us pointing, and let's put before us listening to each other. So on that note, I hope to get connected with you. Take care. Bye-bye.